up to a year.
In Genesis, we read that the waters prevailed upwards, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. Flooding is a natural phenomenon of nature. Few parts of the world are free from its savage effects. But the biblical account of the Noah flood tells of a great worldwide disaster, a global deluge requiring billions upon billions of cubic feet of water. Can we find any proof at all that it really happened?
Floods, both great and small, are an integral part of this planet's nature. There are many indications of floods in antiquity, but I personally would question one single massive flooding that covered the entire Earth in water for 150 days.
There's an extensive amount of evidence for a global universal flood catastrophe, and I see most of that evidence in the fossil record. Worldwide, fossils of animals and fish have been found buried in swimming positions suddenly and catastrophically, preserved in a moment of time. Among the most fascinating fossil finds which show animals in swimming positions include rhinos, hippos, and zebras buried in volcanic ash in Nebraska. And in Scotland, tons of fish have been found in positions of terror, fins extended and eyes bulging. Another fossil graveyard, this one in Geiseltal, Germany, shows a mixture of plants and insects from all climatic zones. When these kinds of fossils are found together, this is usually indicative of global flooding and rapid burial.
In any global flood which destroyed all mankind, you'd certainly expect to find some artifacts from Noah's pre-flood civilization. So then, what does the fossil record show? Have any pre-flood human artifacts ever been found? The answer seems to be yes. This iron pot, now on display at an Arkansas museum, was found encased in a piece of coal at the Thomas, Oklahoma Municipal Electric Power Plant in 1912.
I found this bell in a lump of coal when I was a young person firing a furnace in West Virginia. I dropped a large lump of coal, and when it broke, there was something sticking out of it. In the next few months, I abstracted this bell. The bell is approximately 7 inches, has a pagan god on top, and has an iron clapper, and the bell works very well. And over the period of time, we found out that it is made of both brass and bronze, plus arsenic, sodium, and antimony, which are not found in alloys that we have in the United States today. Historically, this pagan ceremonial bell is described very well by the account in Genesis found in 4:22 that says that Tubal-Cain was an artificer of brass and iron. And so this quite likely is a pre-flood civilization object and could have been carried over by Noah's flood into the coal.
This ancient man-made hammer was originally found in June 1934 in central Texas near the Llano Uplift. I took this artifact to Battelle Lab in Columbus, Ohio, the same lab that analyzed the moonstones. The elemental analysis shows that it is 96.6% iron, 0.74% sulfur, and 2.6% chlorine. Physicists tell us that under atmospheric conditions today, you cannot compound chlorine with metallic iron, yet here it is. Research indications are that the pre-flood atmosphere is the only plausible explanation for the forging of this metallic composition. Due to the pre-flood conditions of Noah's day, this hammer was forged in the generation of Tubal-Cain and Noah and deposited in the worldwide flood of Noah's day.
And what about Mount Ararat itself, where the Bible claims the ark went aground? If it had been submerged under the water, as the Bible says all mountaintops were, can we see any evidence that this actually happened?
I've noticed two things in particular on Mount Ararat from a geologic point of view that indicates that this 17,000-foot volcanic mountain was once underwater. First is the occurrence high on Mount Ararat of what is called pillow lava. Pillow lava is a unique formation that occurs when molten lava emerges from the earth below water. This alone indicates that the mountain was at one time underwater. Secondly, we have found salt crystals on Mount Ararat which could only be formed underwater. These salt crystals were found at the 14,000-foot elevation, indicating that, at least up to the permanent ice and snow line, that this mountain was underwater at one point.
And so the evidence mounts, indicating